This piece of gear right here literally saved my back. Oh, nope, nope, nope. Now, I know that crash looks pretty mellow, all things considered. I wasn't going all that fast, but I did fall over 10 vertical feet and slid down a hill, landing on a nice, soft, pointy stump directly on my back. I even had one of the guides come up and ask me, "Oh, are you okay? You hit that tree hard."
I'm fine.
This thing right here is battle scarred and tested, and after putting down thousands of miles over 2 months, I can confidently say I'm never riding a motorcycle again without wearing this. Exactly 2 months ago, I put out a walkthrough on the Alpinestars Tech-Air Off-Road Airbag Vest. Revzilla invited me to be a part of their Airbag Save campaign in partnership with Alpinestars, and the first thing I thought when I saw the Tech-Air Off-Road was, oh dang, that looks like the ultimate Swiss Army knife riding jacket right there. It could keep you covered on the street, in the dirt, and if you're crazy enough to race Dakar, out in the desert too. I've since spent thousands of miles on and off-road, riding single tracks, twisty roads, and everything in between, and I can confidently say this is going to be my base layer for every type of riding I do, except for track riding. And if I could fit it under my suit, it would definitely be on the racetrack too. If you want a more detailed shakedown on the features and technology on board, check out that other video. I'll have it linked down below. But if you are looking to hear how this thing has held up to 2 months of abuse, let's dive on in.
Now, the reason why I consider the Tech-Air Off-Road here an all-purpose Swiss Army knife motorcycle jacket is because it's designed to work for so many different types of riders. It uses the exact same street algorithm as the Tech-Air 3 and the Tech-Air 5, while also having algorithms that are designed for enduro adventure riders and the Dakar rally boys. And I am so happy to report that that is exactly how this thing feels. As I'm riding this thing around on the street, I know I've got the same street algorithms that are going to keep me protected if I have a head-on crash, if I'm T-boned, if I'm rear-ended, or if I just even low-side my motorcycle. This thing is going to deploy and protect me. But because it's got off-road modes, I don't have a deployment every single time I have a whoopsie-daisy at slow speed. It allows me a little bit of slack to make some mistakes, to drop a motorcycle at low speed, but not burn one of my 2 charges. Now, I could sit here and sing the praises of this thing all afternoon. It's got some really cool technology, and I think that it's a really great value add for anybody out there who's looking for basically the top tier safety item out there. However, what I'd rather do is I'd like to give you guys some things that I've been thinking about as I've been riding this around. And the first thing has to do with a question I've been getting a lot, and that has to do with how heavy is this thing?
What you'll notice is separating something like the Tech-Air from a more simple off-road rig like this Fox Titan here is the weight. This thing is very, very heavy. It is packed full of armor, it is packed full of electronics, as well as canisters and an airbag. No matter what way you slice it, this thing right here is heavy. Now the question is it bothersome? Me personally, I don't think so, because I tend to carry a lot of gear with me when I ride. But if you're one of those weirdos out there who rides off-road in nothing more than a jersey, if you put this thing on right here, it's gonna feel like you're strapping into the Chiefs armor for the first time.
I think we're just getting started.
The second thing and the first pain point that separates this guy from something simple is this is difficult to wash. When it comes to something like the Fox racing rig here, I literally just throw this in the machine wash and come back and then hang dry it a few hours later. Now, I wear this the same way that I wear that Titan rig. I wear it right over my t-shirt as a base layer, and then I'll put something over top of it like a jersey or a jacket, which means that this thing is absorbing all of my nice, lovely, smelly sweat. Yes, this is made with an antimicrobial fabric, but that only goes so far. You still have to wash the thing, you filthy animal. To wash the Tech-Air Off-Road, you first need to remove all of the armor in the shoulders and elbows. That's no big deal since you have to do that anyway if you're washing a standard motorcycle jacket. But obviously you can't wash the electronics, so you need to open the back up and remove the argon canisters, the battery chassis, and the brain. You also need to remove the airbag since it's not washable. You also cannot machine wash the Tech-Air Off-Road, which means you have to wash it by hand, and you can't completely submerge it either. I've been through this process once with the Tech-Air Off-Road right here, and it took me about 10 minutes to get everything out of the jacket, and then it took about 20 minutes to put everything back in once it had dried off. Taking the stuff in and out, that's no big deal. What is a bigger deal to me is not being able to machine wash it. That is a huge bummer. I've machine washed this Fox Titan rig a whole bunch, and it's completely fine. I think if they were gonna come up with a V2 of this, they need to come up with a way to make it so that you can just toss this thing in on like a delicate setting and then have it just be ready to hang dry on the other side. Obviously, you wouldn't tumble dry something like this, but a delicate cycle in a machine should be just fine. And while we're talking version 2 of this, there is something that they have to add to this jacket, and that would be forearm straps and a kidney belt. If for some reason they come up with, you can't put a kidney belt on here because it's gonna inhibit the expansion of the airbag, fine, okay. But there is no reason why it can't have arm straps here to keep this pad in place if you were to go down. I've even considered stitching some on here myself because there is no way modifying the sleeve here is going to in any way inhibit the airbag, which starts here and ends here. And then thirdly, there is this little doodad right here. This is the control unit for the actual vest itself. You can cycle through the modes right here, the street, enduro, and rally modes. You can also check the battery life. And this thing, it's really hard to see when you have a helmet on. I actually have to lift my helmet up so that I can look down at what's going on here, or I need to log on to the app to make sure I'm in the right mode. And yeah, that's not difficult, it's just kind of inconvenient. On other models, especially on the stuff that the MotoGP guys wear, and I believe the Dakar riders wear, it's right here on the sleeve. I'd like to see that come down on the sleeve for the actual normie out there so that, you know, we can just check it like a watch. Now, here's a lesson I learned the hard way. When it's hot outside and you've got a bag full of ice water or nice cold Gatorade, sure, it starts out as nice and cold, but after about 45 minutes, it's tepid. And then after a few hours, it is boiling hot because, believe it or not, a millimeter of rubber, it's not exactly insulative. So what I ended up doing is I went on Amazon and I bought this thing right here, which is actually an insulative sleeve that I can put this thing in, and it was like 15 bucks. And that solves the problem because it just sits in here all day. I've gone on full day rides with ice in the bag to start out with, and then when I get home, there's still ice in it. It also gives it a little bit of protection because that millimeter of plastic isn't particularly great at holding up to, I don't know, a tree stump. I poked a hole in 2 different water bladders just having it sitting in the back here with no protection. So now I have this over it, it keeps it colder and it keeps it protected, and it was $15.
I can't tell you how awesome it is that this thing has a pouch on board for me to carry water around. It is one of those things that I often opt to not carry with me, and I'll just, you know, suffer through the heat, or I'll stop and get, you know, a Gatorade or something. But this allows me to have water on me while I'm rolling. And it doesn't feel like I'm wearing a backpack. I'm one of those riders who hates wearing a backpack. I carry my camera gear all the time and it sucks. With this thing on, I don't have any straps around me that are constricting my motion. I don't really feel any excess weight aside from just maybe a little bit in the back. And anytime I get thirsty, I can just, you know, have myself a little sippy. It's a little harder to do in a sport helmet. If you are going to get a hydration kit for this, which I highly recommend, make sure that you've got some way to attach it right here other than sticking it through this loop. This works, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. You can get those magnets that allow it to stick right here, and that is so much more convenient.
The only downside with something like this is when you're wearing a jersey, it's actually really hard for you to pull the jersey over your head and over this while it's in this back pouch. And I actually had Jake the Garden Snake help me out a handful of times while I was to get on ADV Fest, because I literally couldn't put my own jersey on. But if you're wearing a jacket over this thing, it's no big deal. And it's gonna answer one of the questions that I know is coming up. And you're saying, but Spite, I know this thing's really great in the heat because it's flowing a ton of air, but I do my riding on the south side of the North Pole and I need to wear myself a polar bear jacket, otherwise I'm going to freeze to death. Well, Alpinestars has actually been developing a lot of their jackets that are Tech-Air ready, and they're set up so that you just don't have to worry about it. Now, normally I would recommend, if you're going to wear a jacket over this, that you're going to take the armor that comes with the jacket out, just because it gives you more expansion room. This right here is my Andes Air Dry Star jacket. Normally I'm a 2X when it comes to Alpinestars gear and most gear in general, but when it came to this jacket, I went with a 3X so that I would have the expansion room. But I've done the exact same thing with this speed and strength jacket right here. You don't need a specific Tech-Air jacket to work with this thing, because Alpinestars is actually giving you a handy dandy equation to let you know whether or not this jacket is compatible. All you need to do is take the measurement around your chest in inches, or in centimeters, I guess, if you don't value freedom. And then you take that measurement, divide it by 2, and add 6.3 inches to it, or again, 16 centimeters if the freedom thing doesn't work for you. Then you take the jacket that you're looking to wear over it and measure the chest length. If the length of the chest is greater than that number you got from the equation, you're good to go. Now, I do have to address the single biggest issue that I have had with this jacket right here. In the few months that I have been riding with it, there have been several crashes that I have experienced where a deployment would have happened. But I have had 0 deployments in all of this time testing. And here's why. I don't have any argon canisters in this jacket right now, and I haven't for a long time. Why? Southwest Airlines, baby! The Tech-Air Off-Road is intended for you to be able to check or carry the vest onto an airplane when you fly. And when I left Texas for one of my trips, I had no problems getting it through security here in Austin. I showed them the data sheet that says the canisters are argon and not CO2, that it has been deemed safe for travel, and showed them that the thing was in its storage mode. If you've ever flown with a gun before, you know the whole song and dance. It's actually super similar. However, I was flying through LAX, and when I went to go check this thing, I handed the guy the safety data sheet, I showed him the jacket, I showed him that it was in its off and inert setting, it would not go off. I told him that these were argon canisters, and he looked at me like I was explaining nuclear physics to him. He had no idea what this thing was. And then when they called up TSA to come check this thing out, they had no clue either. When they stopped me, I had 2 choices. I could either surrender the jacket or surrender the cartridges. So what I did is I pulled out the argon canisters and I had to give them to the guy at the bag check stand. And I thought to myself, okay, that kind of sucks. I'm gonna have to buy some new ones. The only problem is there haven't been new ones available since the middle of July. And that was the last time I checked. And now they're saying the middle of August. Now let's play devil's advocate here. This is a new piece of technology that the TSA and airline people have never seen before, so the argon canisters freaked them out. Okay, that's fine. And from A-Star's side, I do get the lack of availability when it comes to the argon canisters. It's a new item that's been flying off the shelves worldwide, and they have been scrambling to make inventory of the vests, let alone the canisters. These are definitely teething problems, but they are very big teething problems that need to be addressed. One of the biggest reasons why I went for the Tech-Air Off-Road is because the canisters are self-serviceable. If I can't pick up the canisters locally or even online, then I can't service it myself. Competitor systems like the Helite jacket use CO2, which 100% cannot fly on an airplane. However, I have seen those canisters on the shelves at several cycle gears throughout the United States, which means that you could check your Helite jacket without the CO2 canister, get wherever you're going, go to the cycle gear and pop a new canister in, be ready to ride by the end of the day. And yet, with all that being said, I still recommend the Alpinestars Tech-Air Off-Road. Why? Because this is the only airbag system out there that will continue to protect you even when it doesn't have charges remaining. You could have 2 back-to-back deployments and continue to ride knowing that this armor here is good enough to protect you in an accident, just like it did for me. There's no other armor on the market that does that, and that right there is why I recommend the Alpinestars Tech-Air Off-Road. And if you are interested in checking this thing out for yourself, click the link down in the description below. All of the information is going to be there. A huge shout out to the folks at Revzilla and Alpinestars for sending this thing to me, for letting me test the crap out of it. While you're down there, let me know your thoughts on airbag systems in general. Are you interested in something like the Tech-Air Off-Road? Are you looking at something like the Tech-Air 3 that's a little bit more affordable but still completely autonomous? Or are you more interested in a tethered system? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.